Hey, it's Mo, and this is episode 89 out of 100 micro power-packed episodes, giving you what you need to succeed to grow your book of business, your relationships, and your career. All right, we're talking about new relationships and how to forge them, how to get introduced to whoever you want. We're talking about ways to do that in a scalable way, giving you a couple examples in the prior couple of videos and several more in the 10 videos before that in targeted and target with scale kind of methods. And the last one we're going to cover and scale here is what we call episodic writing. Well, why do we say episodic writing? This writing is more about writing when you see something you should write about, as opposed to doing something on a periodic basis. This kind of thing can work on a periodic basis, but usually that gets rolled into the email marketing that we talked about a couple episodes ago these days. So this, while it can be you write a monthly column for a magazine or something like that, a lot of times what professionals do is they more write when a trigger occurs. New regulations are happening. They've got a new analysis. They've got a new insight. They've got a new process, whatever. There's some newness to it. That's why I call it episodic. So what you do to be successful in this is you write a piece of content and you want to publish it on the biggest platform you can. If you can get it in a big time magazine or newspaper, do it there. If you can do it on a big digital platform, do it there. If you can do it on your company's website or client alerts and blog, do it there. But basically choose the biggest platform you can. Get that content out into the world. And by definition, this is writing something. It's an article. Most people quit there. So the trap I want you to avoid on this one is assuming you're done when the piece posts, assuming you're done on publication day. I want you to think of that as the starting line, not the finish line. So in other words, I'd rather have you write fewer pieces and do this properly in the way I'm going to describe than write more pieces and spray and pray. Here's how you do it right. I actually don't even want you to start the process when you write the piece. I actually want to start with who do you want to get introduced to? Who are the kinds of people with scale that you would love to read this piece? Think with empathy from their perspective. What information do they need? I'd prefer it you actually start with the list. Like, these are the 20 people I'd like to be introduced to. The more specific you can be, the better. Like, literally get to 20 names. Now, I'll let you have a pass if you write something like COOs of Fortune 500 companies in the retail industry. Now, that would probably lead to names pretty quickly, but sometimes you can come up with criteria that are pretty clear that you could at least write, and you know who the people you'd like to meet are. But in general, the closer you can get to actual names, the better. Okay, so you've got a list. Now think with empathy about what do they need to hear. And you're actually usually better writing for one person or very few people, if that makes sense. If you try to write for a big group of people, you'll end up being fuzzy in your clarity or have lack of clarity. If you can think of one person you're writing for, even though you're going to broadcast to the world, if you have one person in mind, you'll write a really clear article, really good stuff. So that's a little hack to writing. Once you've written the piece, now what I want you to have is an orchestrated campaign over a couple weeks, not a couple days, at least a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months, where people that you know that know the people on your list are going to send that article or link to it to all these people, and they're going to offer a give to get. So the very fact that you're in the biggest platform you can, that's going to bring you some prestige, but there's a half-life to it. That's why you've got to act quickly. So now all your friends that you've orchestrated are going to send this piece to somebody else and say, hey, I thought you might have enjoy this. By the way, if you'd like to meet so-and-so, I'm sure they'd be happy to explain how this new regulation or whatever you talked about, whatever you wrote about, impacts your specific company because you're the kind of organization that they work with all the time. And I bet they would do that on their dime. Or if they know for sure and you've worked it out with them, they can actually make that give to get offer. Now notice what we're doing there. Instead of just writing the piece, spraying and praying and hoping something happens, we've got a 3-step process here. We're focused on who we want to meet. We write the piece so it perfectly aligns with what they would benefit from hearing and get value from. Then you're orchestrating a campaign on the back end to make the offer to get you in front of them using a give to get method, like we've talked about several times in these videos. What's super powerful about that is this one piece you wrote. It takes a long time to write something valuable. this one piece you wrote has now have a maximum chance of getting you a meeting with somebody. Nobody's going to hire you in reading an article anyway. And the very fact that you wrote it is going to imply to them that your time is scarce and you probably don't have time for them. So actually, by writing counterintuitively, you can come across as difficult to reach, even though that's the opposite of what you're trying to do. So that's why you got to have that third step where people that know these people are getting your article in front of them and making that give to get offer to take the one to many, you've written this article for the world, and transition it to one to one. You're going to be able to talk with them and show how this applies to their specific situation. That is how you'll have success with this meeting. Almost everybody does this wrong. They just write the piece and hope that good things happen. I want you to start with who you want to meet, then write the piece, then orchestrating a campaign of helpfulness to get that in front of the right people, to follow up with all your friends, your strategic partners, your colleagues, everybody else that's getting in front of them, and make that offer so that you can get in front of them one-on-one. That's when you'll actually get hired. This is a really effective technique and it can work really well. Okay, so I want to end this episode with, we've covered the trap to avoid and what you need to succeed at too. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit again on this one because there's so much more in the snowball system on this particular technique and all the other ones that this is just a really good link to put down below. So I'll put a link to the snowball system again, like the last video. Skip to chapter 6. It's called Lead Tactics. That's going to give you everything you need to know to get introduced to the right people or to rekindle dormant relationships. All right, I'll close out with this. As with all these videos, I hope this one helps you help your clients succeed.